Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session. Our session is called Student HireAbility Navigators, Maximizing Workforce Services and Outcomes. My name is Jeannette Lara, and I am a Student HireAbility Navigator from Workforce Solutions, Lower Rio.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Gatlin. Up until about 2.5 weeks ago, I was a Student HireAbility Navigator. I am now the Director of Strategic Planning for Workforce Solutions South Plains in the Lubbock area, for those of you who aren't familiar. And thank you for being here.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah Dobis, and I am one of 2 Student HireAbility Navigators for North Central Texas.
And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aubrey Jones. I am the HireAbility Navigator for East Texas. And I'm going to start us out today and go over a little bit of what our goals are and what we hope that you guys get from this training. So what we are going to be doing today is telling you a little bit more about who we are and what we do, but I can see a lot of familiar faces. So I think that a lot of you know who we are, but hopefully we can tell you a little bit more about what we're doing in the communities, how we collaborate with some of you guys, and collaborate with different community agencies that we work with to promote vocational rehab services. So to start out a little bit, I'm sure, again, some of the stuff is familiar for you guys, but some of the statistics and why it is important for us to do the work that we do as HireAbility Navigators. I think that a lot of us may know the HireAbility initiative came from seeing a need for people across not only Texas, but the United States, those with disabilities who are being underserved. And that is why we have all this push for us in the HireAbility community. That is what we do as navigators. And so when we look at these statistics and we see what's going on, this is the reason for us. This is the reason why we are here, because people with disabilities are disproportionately served when it comes down to employment, when it comes down to part-time versus full-time employment, when it comes down to post-secondary opportunities. People with disabilities, more so than any other group, are being left out and left behind. And a part of our initiatives is to stop that. And working with you guys and community partners is how we do that. So we can't talk about that without saying, how do we connect with them first? So putting in information about the TWC Memorandum of Understanding is key, because that allows us to do what? Go into the schools. And I think all of us knows it's easier to catch kiddos and young adults when they're in school, because we all know about Indicator 13. You ask any ISB how easy it is to contact those kids once they leave, you're not going to get an easy answer. They're going to say, we don't know, because we haven't talked to them since they left. And we know that that's what happened. So to have the opportunity to go into the schools, working with the schools, is a huge part of what makes it successful, because like I know the education service centers, we say, we don't want people to graduate to the couch. And so the work that we do while they're in school helps to prevent them from graduating to that couch, because we help with those transition plans. We coordinate with you guys as we are staff and the schools to make sure that they're getting those services that they need.
So Student HireAbility Navigators, as you may be familiar, there are 28 workforce boards all across the state of Texas, and every workforce board has at least 1 navigator. Our bigger boards do have 2 navigators. I'm from Lower Rio, and I am one of 2. But in the event that you are not familiar of who your navigator may be as you are listening to our presentation today, you can always email studentnavigators@twc.texas.gov to find out who the assigned navigator is for your workforce board or area. So as Student HireAbility Navigators, there are deliverables and 3 focus areas that we focus on. First one being capacity building and systems development. Second, partnering and collaboration. Third, informing and engaging employers. The overarching goal of the activities within the 3 focus areas is to increase the likelihood of students' independence and inclusion in communities and competitive integrated workplaces, and their successful participation in post-secondary education experience. So as we move forward, we'll be going a little bit more into depth as far as what these deliverables entail.
So capacity building. This is a fun one because it is very broad. When I first heard that term, it was when I first started this role. And initially I was like, what does that even mean? And then the more that I read, I was like, okay, this is what it means and it makes sense. It's about developing relationships. And that is one of the biggest things that we as navigators do, is to develop and sustain relationships within the community. That is with you guys as VR professionals, that is with us, between us and our boards, between our contractor staff, but it's to make sure that we are developing those relationships to make sure that people know what you guys do. And not only what you guys do, but what we do as a workforce, because a lot of times what do we see? We get siloed. I was just in a presentation earlier, and that's the word silo is going all around. We just have our pockets of what we do, and we need to work together and build those relationships so that we know that we're maximizing service and outreach strategies to make sure that we're serving people that qualify for all workforce services. So promoting within the Texas workforce, the labor market unit. One of the things that I do is work with our community education specialist outreach, the outreach awareness specialists, the new folks, the COES people. But I work with him because what does he do? He's talking about the labor market information, right? And that's a big thing that we need to know, because when we go and work with our youth and our young adults in the schools, they need to know what's available out there. It's not just about what can we do for you, but what is there available for our students? What's available for our young adults? So working with them and bringing in these resources to talk about labor market information is key, because when you say you want to be an astronaut, that's great, that's awesome. But what field is going to really relate to that thing? So even if it's like that one thing that sounds astronomical, but it's a real thing, and kids have those ideas and thoughts, and we need to know how to navigate them around those. So working with these different communities and groups and programs within the workforce, it helps substantially so that we are making sure that we're maximizing those resources once again and getting out the information that our communities need.
Okay, so our next deliverable is partnering and collaboration. Navigators identify community partners and establish collaborative relationships. We provide information, training, and technical assistance to assist students with disabilities to transition successfully to post-secondary education, employment, or both. We also develop and coordinate events, campaigns, and other activities that promote the Texas HireAbility campaign. Navigators serve as a liaison between VR and workforce solution offices and the Workforce Development Board. We assist with VR-related activities and ensure that programs developed are accessible and inclusive. Okay. Navigators partner with student HireAbility navigators within other student HireAbility navigators within the VR region and state to accomplish and expand program deliverables. Okay, and our third deliverable is informing and engaging employers. So navigators increase employers' understanding of the abilities of students with disabilities. We develop training and/or resources to educate, support, and enhance employers' awareness of disability etiquette and accommodations for students with disabilities. We also are liable to develop work-based learning opportunities for students with disabilities. And we conduct outreach and develop relationships with business and industry organizations like local Chamber of Commerce and EDCs. So often we get asked, what is the difference between a navigator and a VR counselor? So here are just a few examples, not all and not limited to, but we just wanted to give you a few. So student HireAbility navigators can locate work-related services available in their workforce area. Navigators promote the 5 pre-employment transition VR services in their local workforce area. We also share information about and refer students and self-advocates to vocational rehabilitation services. We identify gaps in services and establish successful strategies for cross-agency collaboration, and navigators also develop events and campaigns to increase awareness and service provisions for students with disabilities. Whereas vocational rehab counselors, they gather initial contact information, open new VR cases, collect the necessary documents, and maintain case files, such as case management. They provide direct services to students with disabilities, developing and implementing a process that leads to a successful preparation for a planned employment outcome. VR counselors interact directly with parents and other support people as well. VR counselors develop and maintain relationships with community referral sources.
Okay, I get the fun slides. I get to talk about creating the ecosystem that provides an impact in our communities. And the main thing that you have to understand as a navigator is that you have to learn your community. And you start with your workforce solution centers. After you figured out what's going on with your board, you want to make sure that you're an integral part of the centers and that they know what you're doing, what your programs are, what your initiatives are, that you're present there on a regular basis. I come from a small board, so it's easier for me to make that outreach to my centers. Some of these other young ladies, they have huge areas and that comes also in the area of school districts. I only have 47 school districts, and Deborah told me at lunch she had 103 school districts. So you can see the difference there, and why they need two navigators to cover that area. Understanding your school districts is very important because they each have different needs. You're in a small community and it may differ from what you're doing. And also this is your opportunity to work with your counselors from VR. Deborah commented that we work as liaisons. Since I started as a navigator in 2018, I often said that this was, we were ambassadors to VR, to our centers, to our communities. So when you're learning your school districts, I went in with my counselors because they're the ones that are present there. They've done the work. When I started, they had been in their roles for years. It has recently changed, and I have new counselors, or had new counselors. As I said, I'm no longer a navigator, but whoever comes in after me, I hope she has that same working relationship with the counselors because they're wonderful and you can't do anything without them. You have to understand your community. And this is where being a navigator is going to help me in my role as a strategic planner. Because again, I have to know my community. I'll be on a more adult level at this point, but those are going to be the people that help you with your programs, who are able to give you resources that allow you to do more. You have a meeting with kids and they want a snack. Well, guess what? As we all know, you can't buy food. Nobody in TWC or in the workforce centers or the workforce boards, you can't buy food. So there's no snack. So you have to get help from outside. And one of our key providers in our area was AmeriGroup, and we were able to fund a lot of food through them, whether it was with our job shadow days or our charting the course events. They help make those events more fun, and they bring more resources to the table so that we can do more with less. Then there are employers. Employers are our end result. That's why we're working with these kids, because as Aubrey said, we don't want them to graduate to the couch. If we don't take care of those kids now, we're going to be taking care of them later. We're going to be taking care of them when they're 30, when they're 40, when they're 50. And that's going to cost us a lot more money down the road than if we teach them to be independent now. And this is a fun slide from the Disability Employment Awareness Month. This is the poster from 2021, competition that's held annually through the Governor's Office for People with Disabilities. And this is from one of our adult VR customers, and Catherine Holla, and the painting is called In Our Hands. And it shows how, as an ecosystem, we have to develop every part to make it work without
all of us working together, this would be a muddy mess. There would be dirty water. You couldn't see the sunshine. You wouldn't have happy participants in that ecosystem. And I'm happy to say that in 2019, one of the winner for that year came from the South Plains, and she was one of our working with our transition counselors. And we were very proud of that young lady who is still working in our community now. She became self-sufficient and is living a meaningful, productive, independent life now.
Now, segueing from that, I'm going to talk a little bit about realigning programs and working with your different community partners within the workforce. And since I've started this role, one of the things that I've noticed that I've worked really diligently in our area is to make sure that people understand vocational rehab is not one shoe for like one thing. It is for everything. There's not one program that we have within the workforce that VR should not be involved in. We all have to work together, and that's what we see here. Because when we look at any program in our workforce areas, for instance, childcare. I know for me, talking to our childcare team, the fact of the matter is that sometimes there are parents that need VR services. Sometimes there are students or kids that are in childcare services that may need VR services. And that is why it's so important for us to make sure that one person doesn't know what this person's doing or that person doesn't know what that person's doing. We should have these different talks and communication conversations. I know in our area, I can't take credit for it because it was our now DRD who started making regional meetings for us, but it's inviting everybody together so that everybody can talk about what's going on. And that's a part of realigning those programs, because when we don't know what other pieces are doing, how can we connect? Even when we go to job fairs, working with our business services team, guess what? There's a lot of people looking for jobs that need VR services. They don't know that they do because they don't even know that they qualify. I get that all the time. I was presenting last week and half the people in the room had zero clue that when they're talking to people that are looking to get into the workforce or keep their job, that they should have been working with us. And that is the biggest thing about realigning those programs, not thinking that just because this is our job fair over here, you shouldn't be invited. Or just because we're working with this group over here, you shouldn't be invited. That's not the truth, because you'd be very surprised how many times you can walk into a room and someone in there has a disability. I've been asked by transition specialists, not VR, but in the actual community, what does a disability look like? I've been asked that question by transition specialists, and I've had to re-educate them. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like me. It looks like you. It looks like everybody in this room. So realigning programs is also about redefining programs. I know in our area, anytime I do anything, when I say disability, it's like, oh, well, that's not us. But then when I break it down, they're like, wait, what? What'd you say? It's this and it's that and it's this and it's that. It's the truth. So that's a big part of what we have to do too. So when we say realigning programs, that's what we mean as well. And when it comes down to working with like the VR team and the counselors, just helping them out in any type of way, it's collaborating with different folks and making sure that they know we're available to them. For instance, whether it's a transition conference or anything like that, sometimes the counselors can't get there. Sometimes you guys can't get there. You're one person. You can't be in 12 counties at the same time. So for us as navigators, that's the way that we collaborate with you guys too, to make sure that that word is getting put out there, because where you can't be, maybe we can be, right? If you can't make it to that school, you know that I can, and I'll go there for you, because that's what that community, that partnership is all about, because that's what we're here for. We're the supplement. We're not to supplant. We're not to take over or remove. It's a supplement to what you guys do and making sure that the students, the community partners are aware of the services. And with board grants, same thing. I'll speak more to this later in the presentation, but we help out with those things as well, whether it's just spreading the word, making sure that employers know about it, making sure that employees know about it, making sure that family members know about it. We're spreading awareness, realigning those programs, redefining those programs.
So we decided, since we were the session after lunch, we were going to shake things up a little bit and give you all 4 different versions of our presentation. We wanted to keep it exciting. So that's why you keep seeing us. Okay, so Aubrey, was talking about realigning programs. And so I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about the fact that each board is different, right? Some have navigators at the board level, some navigators have, some navigators are at the subrecipient level, right? Some have two, some have one. And so each workforce board serves a different amount of counties. They might have a different amount of ISDs. They have a different amount of education service centers that they serve. And so regardless of what size your workforce board is, the realignment of programs, system strategy can really be very similar, right? So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I'm at the board level. We have one at the subrecipient level. I'm North Central, and I'm at the board level. And so early on, when I started this position, I knew that it was going to be extremely, extremely important to figure out how to leverage resources and how to maximize those resources. So maximizing the collaboration opportunities that were going to be given to me, and also how to collaborate with those interagency departments, such as childcare, the business development units, choices, TANF, and the AEL partners, right? And our goal was to figure out how to leverage those resources. So for instance, I think also one of the questions and the conversations we had early on as navigators when we started this initiative a couple of years ago is, well, you know, I don't have all of those things or opportunities at my board. Maybe we're not handling the childcare contract, or maybe we don't have, you know, teacher externship grants, or whatever those programs are. Perhaps each board might have a different program, right? So for me, I just wanted to identify ways that you could work with your navigator. Let's say if you're in the childcare department, you may not realize it, but the training at the childcare centers, they may need training for staff. They may need accommodations for their facility. Training for the parents, right, that come through with their children. So navigators and childcare departments can work together to make sure that the VR services that are available to the parents, the staff, and the children that are attending there, that's important, right? So we would want to make sure that we're maximizing our relationship with childcare. For example, the business development unit, they work mostly with employers and developing those employer relationships at the board level. So navigators can work and collaborate with that team to recruit for paid work experience opportunities, job shadow days, job tours. They can offer disability etiquette and training. VR does that. And so it's our job as navigators to make sure that these employers are aware that VR can come in and do these disability etiquette training for the employers, for their staff. Those are some needs that our employers have, right? So also, if you have a program manager at your level for WIOA, choices, the TANF or the AEL program, just having a presence in possibly those orientations to just bring awareness to VR services. I know for my board area, I was able to collaborate with our subrecipient staff to make sure that our community outreach awareness specialist, Marquita, she's here today with us, was able to have just a VR presence in those orientations, right? So when those customers are coming through those workforce orientations, hey, do you know about VR services? Do you know about your student HireAbility Navigator? So just having a presence at orientations is huge as far as realigning those program systems. Identify how to leverage resources in the board area and collaborate to make them exclusive. That is truly what we're here to do, right? We all are doing the same thing at Workforce Solutions, whether you're VR, you are subrecipient staff, your board staff, we are here to get our customers ready for employment, maintain employment, keep their job, and as well as for our employers. So we really are here to do the same job. If we can just figure out how to make sure that all of our programs at Workforce are inclusive. So again, just bringing awareness to initiative anywhere possible. Navigators collaborate with VR to strengthen relationships at the board level and the subrecipient level. Example, facilitate introductions, just be that liaison. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, as well as in an earlier session, if you attended one with another navigator, they talked about being that liaison between VR and workforce. That's very important. Implementing referral systems. I know for us at North Central, I was able to facilitate and implement beginning conversations about a referral system between VR and workforce and those programs that we have. Yes. Okay. Next slide. Sorry, we just get so passionate.
That's the key word with all of us, is that we have a deep passion for what we do. This is a great job. It is a great job. I'm really jealous of whoever takes my place, because it's such a fun job to get out there and work with students and VR and the centers and the employers and the community. And that's what I'm going to talk about next is it's a continuation of building that ecosystem. And this is becoming that person in the community, that person. You seek the counsel of your community partners, and they help you with those passions. And you can't exist without them. I talked about that before. And I thought a lot about the points that I wanted to make when I was working on this slide. And it started out like you're a novice and you've got to build your street cred. You've got to get out there and meet the employers. You've got to meet with your community partners, whether Catholic Family Services, CASA, Lions Club. I mean, show up to the opening of an envelope. If they will let you talk, you go. And it's the truth, because you fit everywhere in the community. And I'm going to utilize that in my current job. You've got to seek their wisdom. They've been doing this for a long time, and the cream truly does rise to the top. And those are the people that you want to be talking to in your community, because they're the ones that are going to make things happen, and they're going to take you with them. And you want to be part of that cream. So you want to make sure that you're producing excellence. Share the wealth. Organizations are working wonders with very few resources, and you have to do your research. You have to organize your own piece of that puzzle to make sure that you're fulfilling every bit, you're finishing your edges, you're making sure you fit tightly with all the other partners in your community. And I'm going to go way back in Department of Blind Services history. And John Reynolds used to tell my husband all the time when he was mentoring him that you have to move your game piece up the board. And that's what I'm talking about today, is that when you work on those other 3 steps that I've talked about today, you become an indispensable part of your community, and you're moving that game piece up the board, and you're becoming valuable. And before long, people are going to be coming to you. They're going to be seeking your counsel. So be that person in your community.
So on a continuation of building healthy ecosystems, student hireability navigators, our role is also to develop partnerships with those in our community. So as student hireability navigators, we promote, convene, coordinate, connect, and collaborate with multiple stakeholders in many ways. So one of those being workforce boards. As some of the ladies have mentioned, we can either be at the contractor or at the board level. And although we promote vocational rehabilitation services, our role is also to promote and ensure that the services that Workforce Solutions has to offer are inclusive to individuals with disabilities, making sure that the assistive technology is there to be able to serve individuals of all abilities, and not just individuals with general abilities. We promote Texas Workforce Solutions vocational rehabilitation services, the pre-employment transition services that they provide, that they promote. So we go out into the school districts, we go out into different community agencies, and going on to different school districts, we collaborate with special education directors, with teachers, but not just those specific educators that provide services to students with disabilities, but also to others who you might not think of. And one that we have in our board been collaborating with a little bit more closely is our Cte Educators and Directors. We know that the CTE departments in our school districts are one of those that begin to get students ready for employment. But oftentimes there may be students who are a part of maybe 504 or special education services in these classrooms. So we want to make sure that these educators that might not be too familiar with the services available to students with disabilities are aware of what we do as student hireability navigators in connecting them to what Texas Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehabilitation Services provides. We know that VRS provides multiple of different services as students with disabilities begin to transition into post-secondary education or employment. And we want to make sure that all educators are aware of this. That way students can have a higher chance of being successful as they move forward with their post-secondary education goals. When it comes to parents, we know that parents are the #1 advocate for their children, for these students that are who may have some sort of disability. We want to make sure that parents are aware of what resources are available, whether it's them being connected to us and then us connecting them to the appropriate resources. But we want to ensure that parents are aware of these services. And we know that sometimes parents are busy with their schedules. They might not always go to parent meetings in the school districts, but any way that there is, if there is a group of parents getting together, we want to make sure that we are a part of that and we want to speak to those parents. Many years ago, back pre-COVID, I went to a school for a presentation for a conference, and I came across a parent that I knew at a different level, but she was a parent of an adult child who had autism. And she was talking to me about how, you know, both of them were going to school at the same time. She was able to help her child in college, but then when she graduated, her son was still in college and he struggled to get through, and eventually he had to drop out. And it wasn't until that point that she learned about VRS. And it just kind of, I guess because I had been doing this work for several years already, it was a little bit of a shocker as far as how could she not have heard of these services when her child was already an adult with autism. She at that point was already receiving VRS services, and they were going through some courses, but eventually trying to get her son back on track to be able to help him achieve his full potential. And it's one of those where, as a parent going through the school system, she wasn't aware of the resources that are available out there. And it just came to prove how important it is to ensure that parents, whether it be students in special education or just general orientations, beginning of the year, end of the year, anywhere that you can get this information in there is very crucial to have parents be aware. Community organizations. The partnerships that we as student hireability navigators have with community organizations vary. We want to make sure that those that provide services, once again, to these specific populations are aware of not what just VR provides, but of what Workforce Solutions also provides and how we can come together to ensure that those individuals, those participants are aware of the opportunities that are available to them in the community. And then once again, employers. Of course, the overall goal, of course, is to maintain employment as individuals move forward. And we want to make sure that employers are providing that opportunity. But not just with that, there comes barriers, unfortunately, when it comes to employers. They might not be very open in providing opportunities to individuals or students with disabilities because, you know, they might not be too familiar with disabilities. They might think that because an individual has disabilities that they may not be able to do the job. But being able to provide information to employers as far as the available resources that are out there can definitely remove some of those barriers. In partnership with VR, where student hireability navigators can provide, as mentioned earlier, disability etiquette trainings, provide them with the different resources that are available through the workforce solution system when it comes to hiring individuals with disabilities. So overall, student hireability navigators, you know, although there are different pockets, as mentioned earlier, when it comes to communities and the different resources that are available in every board. As navigators, it is our role and it is part of our job to make sure that we find out what is available in every workforce board area. So if ever you have a question or you're looking for certain avenues in your areas, reach out to us as navigators so that we can help you develop and continue to enhance these partnerships as well. So there are many resources as well, not just the partnerships that are available, but there are different resources that we love to share. Once again, because we know that by sharing these resources, it can enhance the outcome of the needs of individuals or students with disabilities. One of those being Start My VR. If you haven't heard of it, it is a great tool. It's initiated last year, and from what we've heard, it has been a great success. Start My VR it started off as a QR code. We've seen it very often, but it is a simple and easy way to refer someone to VR. If someone thinks they might have a disability or that they might benefit from the services that vocational rehab has to offer, they can fill out this simple questionnaire. It takes less than 5 minutes to fill out, and then it gets sent to state, gets trickled down to their area, and then they will then be contacted by someone locally who will be able to further assist them and basically see if they would definitely benefit from the services or qualify for the services from VR. So Start My VR. If you haven't heard of it, Start My VR. I'll say it again. Coalitions. There are different coalitions across the state, and I'll talk about some in our area that can be a resources and platform to share resources. We started off in Lower Rio, a transition coalition. And this is a group of disability stakeholders consisting of community organizations, employers, and different school system representatives that are a part of this. We meet quarterly, we discuss what barriers are being faced, we share resources, but overall the focus of this group is to make sure that communication doesn't get lost. We don't work in silos. We don't want to work in silos. We want to make sure that we are all collaborating collectively and making sure that the information is reaching those that would benefit from this. Chambers, whether it be your local chambers, we are fortunate enough in our area to have a disability chamber of commerce, but these are great resources to have and to be aware of because once again, the whole focus of all of these is to make sure that barriers are being taken down and removed so that there is success when it comes to individuals and students with disabilities. Independent living centers are another great resource. They offer various levels of opportunities, free online virtual classes. Of course, with COVID, a lot of stuff has become easily available because it is virtual. But this is another great resource that is available to the community. And then others from the city, the county, state, and federal government. Overall, these are just some of the resources. The resources in your area can vary from ours and can vary from some of the ladies here. But overall, connecting with us as your student HireAbility Navigators, if you're not too aware of what resources could be available for a certain population, especially this population, do connect with us. That way we can make sure to assist you in the best way that we can.
Don't go too far in case I mix this part up. The next video that you're going to see is regarding an event that we hold every fall, or actually it used to be in the fall. COVID it just ends up where it ends up now. But this was held in the fall of 2019, and it's called United We Work Job Shadow Day. And it's an event that has grown over time. This last year, we served over 100 students and had more than 30 employers who participated. We had people from our board office. We had our board of directors who were involved doing mock interviews. We had people from the centers come in and help with mock interviews. It involved everyone. But this video is so heartwarming and it's wonderful. A Mayor Group had it produced, and we have just used the heck out of it to get a little bit of coverage for students with disabilities. So let's hope I don't screw this up. Awesome.
We're the friendliest people in the world. It's not a me or an I community. It's a we and us community. I think this event in many ways embodies that.
At AmeriGroup, we participate in Disability Mentoring Day throughout the state of Texas. This year we did Disability Mentoring Days in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and in many other states as well.
The students that come to this event have a variety of disabilities. We have students on the autism spectrum, students with speech impairments, students with visual impairments. Some of the students don't have an obvious disability, and sometimes that makes it harder for them in the workplace. As the transition coordinator, I make sure that we're talking to them and their families about what they're going to do after high school.
This is about these students being introduced to the working world. We talk to them about what opportunities are out there and what abilities they have to actually enter the workforce after they graduate.
We have 86 students participating from 7 different school districts. And we also have 17 different local businesses that have volunteered to take students on for the day and let them learn a little bit about their industry and get some hands-on skills.
I'm excited to be here. I think this can help you figure out maybe what you want to do in life and what you may not want to do in life too, which can be just as important for helping narrow down your options.
We do mock interviews with them, get them on buses, and off to their work sites for the day.
I want to be a carpenter.
I want to be a 3K teacher or a 3rd grade teacher.
I would like to be a nurse or a nurse assistant.
Thank y'all so much for coming out. We really appreciate you guys being interested in what we do out here.
We take care of people that are sick or injured. So if that's one of their goals, then it's definitely attainable. I think it's most important to let them realize this is not beyond their reach.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit heavy.
Like, imagine wearing that for a couple of hours.
This kind of like opened my eyes. You know, I need to get out of my comfort zone.
We've got a lot of good jobs in our community. When I talk to business owners, the thing they tell me is we need good workers. I think it's great for the businesses. It's not just a feel good. These are people that are helping them do their jobs.
People who engage in meaningful employment have better mental health outcomes. They have social networks that they wouldn't be exposed to. And we know that once kids leave the high school, that they need to have a path, whether they're going to engage in a vocational program or go on directly into the workforce. This gives students just a glimpse at what they can do post-high school.
Meaningful employment is key to putting nutritional food on their table, assisting with providing education and childcare for their kids for the rest of their life.
I'm just trying to get into the animal field because that's my main goal in life.
Today we had somebody who walked up to the front desk and asked for an application. So one of our students may be employed at the animal shelter before we know it.
We had local businesses donate clothing for some of our students to put a catwalk on and show these students what to wear to an interview.
These kids got to network with other students and they all supported each other so much. You would have thought that it was Fashion Week in New York.
Anything is possible if you put your heart towards it. You can do anything, and that's what we did today.
When we talk about good corporate citizens, it's about the greater good. It's about how you impact our community as a whole.
AmeriGroup really wants to give back to their communities, not just to our members. You know, a lot of the kids in the room today are not AmeriGroup members.
So I'm thankful for the folks that make this happen today. I know that AmeriGroup's at the top of the list.
AmeriGroup really has become the organizer, and I appreciate so much the impact that they have had. This day can make the difference in the lives of our students.
I think that all of us at AmeriGroup feel very fortunate to call this our work.
Experiences I got and the opportunities I got, it was really awesome.
It's something new, something I haven't ever done.
We are learning what you want to do after high school and getting a start.
The American dream is alive and well for everyone. You guys are rock stars.
I love that video. Thank you, Jeannette.
See how wrong she is leaving me to follow that video? How you gonna do me like that? But I'm gonna talk to you guys. Let me get this slide to go over. Got a lag now. You left me with tech support too. But I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about our teacher externship grant. I'm from the DPS board, as I mentioned in the introduction, and we were one of the boards that were able to get this teacher externship grant this year. And it has been a phenomenal opportunity. So if there's any one word that I would say, I hope you guys take away from what we're saying, it would be opportunity. And an opportunity is something that I see across the entire workforce with the programs that we have. And it's something that I have been able to highlight with working within this grant this year. We are dead in the middle of it right now. But what it has done is allowed an opportunity for us to work with the schools and the employers and the students. So we're tapping into all of these populations. And I don't think that we've highlighted a lot about underserved and unserved populations, but that's where this comes in. Because when we think about the general populations in schools, guess who's there? 504 students. Guess who's there? Foster youth. Those are the kids that we miss. But working within a grant like this, I've been able to capture those students too. It's also allowed us to work with like our educational outreach specialists to come in and help us to promote our services as well. And not only that, we're tapping into these employers. I was just in a conference this morning and we were talking about fidelity bonding and VR services and how employers have no clue that this is out here and available to them. And this opportunity has allowed me to tap into multiple industries that are working with us through this grant and let them know about our services. When they read that and heard that, they're like, so you're telling me I can keep my rock star employees? I didn't know that since they didn't have this insurance coverage to help them with this, they might qualify for these services. And I was like, yeah. They're like, we need to talk. We need to talk after this because they didn't know. They have no clue. And this is why what we do is so important because we have so many amazing programs that so many individuals, employers, teachers, educators, counselors, not you guys, I'm talking about in the school, but they don't know about it. Because I know for my schools, like with this particular grant, we work with the counselors too, the regular Jeannette counselors. Guess who they work with? 504 kids. It's not always the special needs counselors. It's not them. It's those other ones sprinkled out there. So when we have programs like this, other grants, opportunities out there like this, we still need to be incorporated because guess what? Now we're tapping into that underserved, unserved population that can fit within VR services. And my board saw that and took off with it. And they're like, okay, Aubrey, you can have a seat at the table. And I'll thank them for that because it's putting you guys at our table too, because I want to make sure that we're promoting you guys as much as we can, because again, it's an integration, it's a supplement for our services. Because I'm telling you, I've not went to one presentation and spoke about you guys without somebody's mouth dropping, not realizing one, that you guys are still here and what you do. And that's why when I say maximizing our efforts and what we do, it helps, it works. And that's what we're doing with you guys, for our communities.
So along with other grant opportunities, there's one called the Texas Internship Grant. This provides opportunities for youth to receive an internship experience and receive a stipend while they are enrolled in school. If you all are a part of this, if you all are aware of this or know the individuals who are in charge of these, have your student HireAbility Navigators be a part of these conversations. We want to ensure that students with disabilities, whether they be in 504 or in special education, receive opportunities and be a part of this as well. Excuse me. So when it comes to the support that we need as student HireAbility Navigators, we don't just need the support in order to be successful from our workforce board, from our contractor, from the counselors that we work with. We also need the support of our supervisors, which is very crucial and very important. I did want to highlight my supervisor who's standing in the corner back there, Mr. David Gutierrez. These ladies as well know that David is wherever we are, he is right there. And not just to be, how do I say it? Not just to be, yeah, he's just amazing is all I can say. And if it wasn't for him and his support, I mean, I don't think I would be where I am today. I myself, along with these ladies, we are all mentors. And he's one of those that did push me to be a mentor and saw that opportunity. What that means is that there are from over 30 navigators in the state of Texas. Myself, along with these ladies, we are some of the mentors from the state, meaning that when there's a new navigator, wherever they may be, we are assigned to them and we help them as they move forward with their role. But going back to my supervisor and supervisor involvement, if you are a supervisor, if you know someone who is a supervisor of a navigator, their role and their involvement with us is very crucial. It is important that they become familiar with the role. I know there have been many times where David, his background is not in disability, but he makes sure to ask the questions. And I applaud him for that. And I admire him for always asking questions. Ask questions if you're not too familiar with what it is that we do, with what it is that is involved in the chapter 3 that has descriptions of our role. There are monthly navigator meetings. David is always there. And it's great because sometimes I may miss something that he may catch, or I may interpret something one way, and we can kind of share notes on that, and we can collaborate together on what discussions have taken place. Of course, with COVID, a lot of things have been virtual. There is a lot of virtual and in-person meetings that as supervisors are great to be a part of when it comes to the navigator role. But overall, advocate for us as navigators. There's a lot that we can get done in our community. There's a lot that we can achieve, but it is up to our supervisors to be able to back us up so that we can do the great things that we are doing in our community. So David, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeannette. That was great. And I have to be honest, David's not my supervisor, but if he's not in a meeting with us, I get a little uncomfortable because he's always there. So we love his support. We appreciate his support as well. I would also like to say, wasn't that job shadow day video amazing? I know it had Diana crying. I teared up a little bit. I'm just going to share with you guys that I started this position about 3.5 years ago. And I think South Plains was highlighted. I think they had their own breakout session at the Texas Transition Conference. And it was early on when I started my position. And I saw that and they were here and I was like, I have to do that in my area. And so I was able to speak with Diana. She was kind to share with me how she's worked with her partnerships there. And I was able to actually, hopefully, before COVID, implement in our North Central area. We got like 2 weeks there and COVID hit. And so we had to put it on pause. But I was so touched by that United We Work that we're going to be hoping to replicate that in the North Central area. So stay tuned. So I was so appreciative that since Diana moved on from her position, that they allowed her to still come and be with us and share that opportunity, because I thought that was so important that we share that. So for now, for North Central, I'm going to share with you a little bit about our mobile workforce unit that we have here. So just to recap, we serve 14 counties. We have 3 education service centers, 12 workforce centers, and 103 ISDs. I am one of 2 navigators, and I started this position about 3.5 years ago, and I spent the first few months in what I like to call a discovery process. I knew early on with such a very large board area that it was going to be imperative that I identify how to leverage resources. And in order for me to do that, I had to really educate myself on our programs and our tools. So this is our mobile workforce unit. It is ADA compliant, and it is a moving extension of the North Central Texas Workforce Centers, bringing services directly to customers in need. This is often used for our rapid response efforts, provided to employers, as well as deployed to job fairs and our hiring events. It has multiple computer stations. It has instant internet access, and it helps them search for careers and improve their resumes and much more. So with support from my leadership, I added this to my menu of services that I offered to VR counselors in my area. And together we collaborated and created job readiness and career exploration activities for transition students. So this was used all over our 14 counties at the request of our VR counselors. This was particularly deployed out to ISDs, and the students completed career assessments. So one event that we did was in Parker County. This is just one example. I got with the VR counselor, and the unique thing about this resource was that we could get creative. So depending on her students and the needs of her students, she got creative and she decided on a career assessment that she would do on the bus. And we deployed it out to the high school one day. And I think she ran 50 to 60 kids through it in like 2 hours. And they were so excited. It was exciting for them because they got to get out of class. And we all know that transportation is a huge barrier, right, for our schools in rural counties, really everywhere. And so it was really neat that we were able to bring a resource to the teachers. They didn't have to get approval for a field trip. The students got to get out of the class. We were able to expand and enhance access to pre-employment transition services, which is part of our requirements. And the counselors had a resource to offer their students that didn't cost them anything. So there was no need for any type of pre-eds funding. So that was really exciting. Another way that we used it, well, the counselors could use it really wherever they wanted to. They deployed it when school was out, it was still being mobile, and we deployed it out to summer camps. One of the counselors did a week-long camp with her transition kids at one of our partnership college, Weatherford College. It was in Parker County, and she chose the assessment, and the kids utilized this one day of, it was like a 5-week summer camp, and it was called On the Right Track. So these are just a few ways that we use this mobile unit. Obviously with COVID, we had to put that on pause, but COVID is relaxing now. The schools are back in person. And so we got that mobile unit back up and going. So I just wanted to highlight our mobile workforce unit at North Central Texas. So I would like to I'm gonna hand it over to Jeannette to close out for us. But I did wanna encourage each and every one of you. We know that every board is different. We know that the size is different. And we know that you may not have a mobile workforce unit. You may not have a specific grant that Aubrey talked about. But I would encourage you that if you take the time to go through your discovery process with your navigator, or if you're a board employee, whatever the case may be, it's just really about working together, partnering, leveraging those resources, and just staying in communication so we can make sure that we stay inclusive for our students with disabilities in everything that we do at Workforce. So thank you so much.
And before we open up for questions, I did want to highlight 2 individuals to my left. I did want to highlight Miss Lauren Hargrove and Mr. Kevin Markel. As the Student HireAbility Navigator program started off back about 4 years ago, and it was initiated and started off with Miss Lauren Hargrove leading the group all across the state. So Lauren, thank you for your guidance. Lauren's, of course, has transitioned to another role at the state level, but now we are fortunate to have Kevin Markel, who now oversees our program. So I did want us to give a round of applause to them, because without them, we wouldn't be successful. So thank you guys. Thank you. And now we will open it up for questions. Do any of y'all have any questions for any of us up here or about the Navigator program in general? Yes, ma'am.
This isn't, I guess it is kind of a question, but have you guys, if you have access to it at your workforce areas, implemented any of the virtual reality headsets with your kids? Okay, cool. I was just curious because that's something we have started to look into. We've had one student successfully go through it, but it started off with like their parent wasn't sure if they would be able to make it through, and they did just fine. They changed the oil. So I just was wondering, kind of like, as we move forward and start doing more with those, headsets, if you guys had any advice on the best way to handle it with those students who do have those special needs, because it is different going through a virtual reality headset than right there in person.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and let Aubrey speak, but I did want to share that at our board, we do have workforce outreach specialists. So due to that, we are fortunate enough as a navigators to be able to use those headsets as well for our population, students with disabilities. And I did want to speak about this last week, we held a youth conference, and there was a group of students that were from the School for the Deaf in our region. And that is something that we are currently working. As you may be aware, there are no captions in the headsets. These questions have already been brought up to the VR individuals that are in charge. But thankfully, we were able to have many students go through them. We did have sign language interpreters on hand, and they were able to walk the students through the process, and they grasped it, I mean, with no issues whatsoever. We've had another 18+ program that attended an event where these virtual reality headsets were at, and several of her students were also able to go through these. So if you know, if your workforce force has these, as navigators, we are able to coordinate those type of activities and opportunities for youth who can go through. I mean, if you haven't tried these headsets, sorry, they are really neat. So it's great to provide this opportunity to the students as well.
She's right on the money. If you have your outreach specialists in your area, grab them. Like, they're great. I literally just, oh, well, that's you. So yeah, absolutely. Partner, because like when we talk about the 504, because I know that's for me, I'm in a very small board. So when I go partner with my education outreach specialist, I go to his schools, and we just covered like 6 schools in one day, and it was awesome. But we reached those kids, and I know that he really needed my help with that, because just to kind of see what does that mean, because you know those VR goggles can cause dizziness. I'm one of those people that I can't do that, but I'll just help them. I'll wipe stuff down and make sure people know where to go. But yeah, reach out to your navigator, because that'll be a great opportunity for us too, right? Because we didn't get the money to get the VR goggles, but y'all did. So yeah, reach out to us. And I know I'm always going with James whenever I can. When I'm available to go with him, I will, because it's a great opportunity for them too, because they get to learn and do those things, and they're being included. They're literally being included, instead of them saying, well, we don't know about them going, so let's just keep them there. But we can make sure that they have that inclusion piece, and we work with you guys on getting that done for them too.
Very jealous.
And I can add something real quick to that. I know we might have another question. The virtual reality goggles, North Central, we didn't get them, but recently it was about 4 of us navigators. We went to the homeschool convention out here in Plano. It was about 2-3 weeks ago. And one of the Texoma board had the VR goggles, and she came, the position that you're in, and it was a hit. Like, the kids stopped by, and it was students with disabilities. Some of them had disabilities, some of them didn't. But we were all together at a VR table, and they were a hit. So definitely partner with your navigator, your youth, WIOA case manager. Definitely connect with your navigator, because we're all doing things together. And so if we don't have one, but you have one, and you know, we can all work together to make that outreach. I think there was like 1,500 families came through that homeschool convention. So we were considered like interactive, and we hosted those at our table. So
yes, sir.
Check. You had mentioned that a few of you have been trained to do mentoring. And I was wondering how we would go about requesting Aubrey to come and work with our new navigator, or move to Austin.
If my ED's watching, he's not gonna like you.
I already don't like him. We don't want Aubrey going anywhere. All right, quick, great presentation, ladies. Very great. So my question, you guys mentioned the education and outreach specialist. So I don't know if every board area that have that position, what is their role specifically? And every board, do they use them differently or the same way? I just want to know the difference because it seems like they're doing the same job with like the navigators.
So at our board in Lower Rio, we do have workforce outreach specialists, and we are part of the same team, but their focus is to go out into the schools and promote LMCI tools. So they are LMCI experts. They provide soft skills, they provide social skills. They are a part of youth conferences, conferences that are at the school districts. Where it kind of differs is where as navigators, we have that disability background and we focus on promoting the pre-employment transition services that VR provides. So we can definitely work together, and I myself work with our outreach specialist, one who's back there. We partner a lot on as many times as we can, as oftentimes as we can. Workforce outreach specialists are not at every board, but there are several across the state of Texas. And I know Miss Lori Knight is the one who oversees the workforce outreach specialist for the state. So if you are not too sure if there is one in your area, I'm sure that you would be able to reach out to her as well. I hope that answered your question, sir.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you need a mentor in your area for your navigator, you could definitely reach out to any of us, and also Kevin Markel over there. Yeah, reach
Mr.
out to
Kevin Markel.
And he can definitely help you with that and get one of us there to help you out.
So Mr. Kevin Markel, who oversees our program, is the one who will assign us as mentors to mentor a new mentee as they transition into their role. And we meet with them as often as we can. We provide guidance to them. There are reports that we have to do on our end as mentors to make sure that we are providing the guidance needed for that individual.
Kevin might need to add something.
Thank you, ladies, for your presentation. I'm the Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist for Region 3, Central Texas area. And you talked a little bit about the virtual reality goggles, the other VR. And one of the boards, I work with 5 boards, and one of them has the virtual reality goggles. Do you know the process of requesting or how they get funding for those virtual reality goggles?
I know that in our board, it came through their specific grant. So it was their funding that they had. So if I'm not mistaken, most all of them did. I mean, I know we have to wrap up now, but it came through their funding. So that's why I said we didn't have that money, but it was in their budget for them to have it, because I think they had to get those for them because of their particular job. Yes.
Thank you. And
we do have a comment
Yes, ma'am.
from the chat. Way to go.
Thank you all so much. And I hope that you all reach out to your local navigator. We can help you out in many ways and help make sure that our population students with disabilities are successful in your area. So thank you all for being here.